Hello and welcome to Surveyor Says, the podcast from the National Society of Professional Surveyors. Each week, we bring you fascinating guests that are involved in the profession of surveying. We cover a lot of ground, including Table Lay Talk with Gary Kent, Point of Order with the NSPS Joint Government Affairs Team, Future Focus, highlighting current and future leaders of the profession, and everything survey-related in between. Thanks for joining us here on the podcast, and hope you enjoyed listening to this episode of Surveyor Says. Hello and welcome to another episode of Surveyor Says. This is Tim Birch, and today we get to turn the tables on. I was actually a guest along with our Vice President Amanda Allred a while back. We get to turn the tables on the hosts of the Shane and Connor Show from our good friends at the Texas Society of Professional Surveyors. Mr. Shane, Mr. Connor, welcome to the show, and we appreciate you taking the time out and like I said, turning the tables, and we get to put the spotlight on you fellas for a change. So really, first off, I guess a little introduction about yourself, and Shane, try to be humble, try to be honest, and just try to try to really tell us about the real Shane.
Well, Tim, thank you for inviting us on, and again, we appreciate you and Amanda being on our show. And like I said, my name is Shane Neeley, and I was president of the Texas Society of Professional Surveyors back in 2014. I am still amazed that I was ever elected president of the association, but I was, and I am very proud of that fact. And so, and then we have Connor with us, who I've drug along to all of my crazy ideas. So I'll let him introduce himself.
I'm the straight man of the show. So, yes, Tim, thanks for having us on. And it's a great opportunity to have the tables turned. Like we were talking before the show started, this is our first time to be on this side of the mic. So we're looking forward to having fun here. And I am, I guess the highest that I've been so far in the TSPS is I am a state level director. I'm also the committee chairman of the chapter activities committee. So I'm pretty active in keeping up with what's going on in all the chapters, and they reach out to me with what questions they have. And so looking forward to a great time with you today.
Very good. Very good. Well, I'll tell you what, Connor, while you've got the spotlight, the age-old question for every surveyor: how the heck did you get into surveying? What brought you into this crazy profession?
Well, I'm probably, my story is probably a whole lot more common to the profession than Shane's will be. I am a third generation land surveyor. So my dad and my paternal grandfather were both land surveyors. My dad is a registered surveyor here in Texas, and so, I grew up around it, pulling chain with my dad and turning angles on an old Transit, doing some side jobs with him. He worked for about 25 years for a large timber company here in Texas, but he did some side jobs on the side, and that's where I got into it. And I always swore up and down I would never do this. This is not what I want to do. I'm not going to be a surveyor, but I ended up way too close to the profession. I got a degree in computer-aided drafting, and it was just kind of natural for me to do some surveying drafting. And one day I woke up and was like, why not? Let's take the next step to get licensed. And so I went back to school to get the hours that I was lacking, and here I am.
Very good. All right. Well, he set you up, Shane. What were you? Male gigolo? What was your calling in life?
Well, well, when I couldn't make a go at that, I decided to, look for something else. But now it was quite comical because I had, in my way younger days, I had met a girl, and we were going to get married, in 2 years. And so I remember looking in the Tyler Junior College book that comes out of all the courses and degree programs that they have. And I said, man, I I got to find something I can do in 2 years, man. I'm about to get married, you know. So I looked in the back of it, and I chose between two things, and one of them was land surveying, and the other one was horticultural, you know. And I had a lot of friends in my area that was worked at plant farms and things like that. So anyway, I kind of booked it on up to TJC. They had back then, you know, you could show up, sign up for classes. A lot of the professors were there. You could talk to them, things like that. And so I was walking up there, and I said, hey, I'm gonna go talk to the land surveying professor first, because it's just so hard to say horticulture, you know. So I said, I'm gonna see if I can land in land surveying. It's a lot easier to say anyway, you know. I'm a simple guy like that, you know. And so, but what sold me on the profession was seeing, and actually that's the first day I met Patty Williams, who was my instructor,
Oh,
and
yes.
still the instructor there. And um, and so I saw the passion that she had for surveying and her career and her job, even as a young 20-year-old kid. I could see that she really loved her job and loved surveying, and so that kind of sold me on it, even though I had no clue what surveying was, you know, what they did, nothing. So that's kind of how I got into it.
Very nice. Yes, shout out to Patty. Yes, I tell you what, of all of the surveyors I've met through my career, I think she's probably in the top handful of just straight out passion for the profession. She's an amazing lady, amazing individual.
She is, yes, sir.
All right, so you guys, obviously in Texas, things are bigger in Texas. What is surveying like in Texas? I mean, you guys are in East Texas, so give us a little taste of the different flavors of surveying in Texas, especially having to deal with varas rather than feet sometimes.
Well, it's definitely an adventure surveying in Texas. I'm also licensed in New Mexico, Colorado, and Oklahoma, so I've had a little taste of the public land states. And man, we started surveying in New Mexico, and I was like, man, I can get used to this. You pretty much know exactly where you're going to look for a section corner. In Texas, you might get to a corner and you have, the old joke that Daryl Shine always told. You might have 6 corners there, and 2 of them be yours. Um, but there is a lot of pin cushion. I know that there is in the public land states also, but with Texas, we are here in East Texas, but I do a lot of work out in West Texas. I've done surveying. I counted it up one time. It's on my LinkedIn. I don't remember. It's not 100 yet, but it's several dozen different counties all over the state, and I think that is the neatest aspect of surveying in Texas, because you can have East Texas over here. You got the swamps and the creeks and the rivers, and you can go to West Texas and be out in the desert. Last weekend I was at the High Plains Experience that TSPS puts on up on the high plains in the Panhandle, and that was totally different country. And so you might when you down here in East Texas, you see something that says PK found, and if you're from Dallas Fort Worth, you might be looking for a PK nail, but that's pine knot to us East Texas boys. So and it's just really different, the different types of monuments, the different styles of surveying that are out across the whole huge state of Texas.
So Connor, what gets me is in most of my experience, Tim has been all in East Texas, and we still have to use that thing called a machete around here. I mean,
yeah,
and the GPS doesn't work as well in the pine trees of East Texas as it does any farther, a little bit west and northwest of us. And so, we still do a lot of conventional surveying, and so it's quite interesting when we have meetings with our big city friends, and they talk about surveying, and they haven't closed a traverse in years because they just don't do that surveying anymore. That they use different tools, and we still have to use conventional. We still close traverses, things like that, and GPS to us is mainly just to get us control in an area. Then from there we have to take off. So it's quite adventurous in East Texas, to say the least.
You bet. I think I said during when I was on your show that I'd spent some time in the mid '80s in Dallas, and I'm still to this day, trying to convince people that East Texas and the pine forests, and it's a whole nother world over in Longview and that direction. So I can only imagine. You're right that the conventional surveying is alive and well in East Texas.
It is.
Very good. All right. Well, we're all three somewhat seasoned surveyors. Well, maybe Connor not so much, but uh, any kind of, especially surveying in Texas. Any favorite surveying memories that you get that come to mind? Because unfortunately, some of my favorite surveying memories are from my time in Texas. Thank you, Mr. Chris Freeman. But we'll get into that later. But what is surveying? What memories has it brought to you in your time in the field?
It's funny. I probably have two of them, Tim, that come to mind. And I probably didn't spend a whole lot of time out in the field. I pretty much spent most of my career here at Stanger Surveying, but I did leave for about a year and a half early on in my career to get a certain kind of experience. I wanted to get registered, so I needed boundary experience. And so I had left for a little bit, and I was working for this gentleman in Jacksonville, Texas, and his name was Tim McCowan. Great guy, great surveyor. And that's all he did was just boundary surveying. It was just him, and that was it. And so when I went to work for him, I remember I had to run the instrument. I had to run the book because he didn't have radios. So he was just out ahead chopping. And I remember coming down to this little bottom area, and I had these little green bushes, all the way up to my waist almost. And I kind of looked around. I said, Tim, man, this stuff's green. I said, what is this stuff? And he goes, oh, that's poison ivy. And until then, I was never allergic to poison ivy. Well, now I am, because I guess I got a heavy dose of it that day.
How about you, Connor? What's been some special memories, good or bad, out in the field?
Wow, there's several. The first, it wasn't the first day, but it was my first job in surveying, not with my dad, but actually on a crew for another company getting paid. And I almost stepped on a 5-foot long timber rattler with 19 rattles. So that kind of cured me from fear of snakes, because everything I've seen since then looks little compared to that one. So I'm not all that scared of snakes. Kind of comparable to you, Tim. I was working for the city of Conroe, and we were doing had to do a survey to see how much sludge was in the pond at the sewage.
You do remember?
I got put in on a john boat with a rain slicker and gloves and all kinds of stuff, and we had to float around that thing taking topo shots. I'm not sure that OSHA would have approved of anything we were doing there, but I was the rookie, so I got sent to do that.
Yep.
There's several, but I think as surveyors, some of the more special ones is just, finding an original monument and, knowing that thing's been there for 80, 90, 100 years. If he says he scribed BT on the side of the pipe, and you see that and you look at your field notes and that was done in 1901, there's something there and I think that's what makes surveyors a different breed of animal, because even just talking about it, I feel that rush, man.
Right.
It's just, that rush of, I found this original monument. I am right where this guy was back 100 years ago.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And I guess that's part, to me, what is so special about the profession, and being able to tell these stories and be able to share this with the younger generation, to say, this is what the bug that bit us, and why we do what we do, because it has created a good career, a good paying career, and just the memories, and you enjoy what you're doing. So, right. I think that's to me, that's even part of the fun of doing this type of a podcast, and seeing each of the guests when they are explaining, just like you just did, Connor, lighting up about that original monument, and just going, there's some level of satisfaction there that you just can't you can't hide, and
Right.
it's always fun to have that as well. Well, another part of the reason I definitely wanted to get back together with you two gentlemen and get you on the other side of the microphone was to tell us a little bit about the Shane and Connor show, how that evolved, how that came about, and what what even as minute as they may seem, what is your goal? What are you trying to accomplish with getting out in front of people with this?
I don't know, Connor. Do you want to? I mean,
Well, Shane, like he said, he has crazy ideas, and I tag along with him, and I think it surprises him when I tag along with him on stuff because I'm really a different type of person than Shane. I'm really calm and laid back, and
yeah, we are opposites, but we make a pretty good team. But
Exactly.
I don't know what it was.
Strategic planning,
it was
wasn't it?
2 or 3 years ago when we did the first online training videos for TSPS, and we had presented some classes at a TSPS symposium and TSPS convention together. And I don't know, you text me sometime and said, hey, why don't we do a like a lunch and learn or a 1 hour ethics or something. I thought, man, that sounds like the most boring thing that I've ever heard of in my life. 1 hour of ethics.
The first thing I texted him was, hey, how about us do an ethics hour, live? And he said, dude, that sounds boring. And then I said, okay, well, now you opened me up. And then so then we come up with a different idea. And I'll put it to, a lot of it was based off of your podcasts, other podcasts like the Geoholics.
Yeah.
And so, but we wanted to have kind of a little different flair. And so we decided to do a live webinar, and mainly because, sometimes for me, podcasts are hard because I've got a very bad case of adult ADD. So I need little shiny things going on and to watch something, to keep my interest going. And so that's kind of, we wanted to do something live. And so, that's kind of how it was born. And then we put it's almost been exactly 1 year since we did the first show.
Yeah.
And we do one a quarter. We don't want to obviously burn people out, with our awesome personalities, but I think we wait so long before we have a show. Everybody's like, oh man, that's going to be awesome. It's going to be a good show. And then people watch us. They're like, I don't know if I want to watch those cats again.
Oh.
Well, we wait a whole nother 3 months to do it again. And they're like, maybe we'll give them another try.
Yeah.
No, it was it was definitely fun. I enjoyed being on it. I was definitely fun. I can say I appreciate the effort that has to go into putting it together. So, well, good. We just we just want to everything I like to do. I don't mind doing a lot of things, but I want to have fun doing it. And
that was our main goal.
That's our main goal, is to have fun,
surveyors together,
bring surveyors,
share some information about current topics and try to make it where we could get people interested in surveying. But the main goal is just to have fun with it and bring surveyors together.
Yep.
Exactly. And well, I appreciated the one you did in March during Surveyors Week, having Ellie and Elaine on from Get Kids Into Survey. I mean, it's just every little bit we can do to help promote the profession and really tie it all together. It's good. And like I said, I appreciate you guys putting that all together. Well, since DJ couldn't join us today, can we talk about her? Can we talk? No.
Oh yeah.
No. No, we're going to have DJ on in several weeks. Give her own little spotlight to talk about TSPS and a lot of the great things that she's done, she's led, and so kind of segueing into TSPS for that. Tell us from your perspective, especially doing a show and as much as busy as you've been in the association. What about the value of being a member, belonging to something like a significant group that advocates for your profession? What does that mean to you, and what do you do to try to help promote that?
Well, Tim, I think somebody, I don't think it was one of of good friends, Paul Carey, said something about he was going to do a professionalism seminar, and he was going to lead off with the fact that it's almost your duty to be a part of your state association as a professional. And my mentor, Joey Stanger, who I've worked for almost 30 years now, instilled in me early on that it was important to be a part of your association. And it has, in all the years that I have been with TSPS and done things, I have been giving back way more than I've given. And it can be, it's even more, and a lot of it's even just personal things like, Tim, if you would have known me back in my young years, I was so shy. I couldn't talk to myself in a mirror.
Connor, I don't believe this. I'm not buying
I
that.
tell people that, but it's
I never
true.
knew him like that. So
It's true.
Good.
And
Yeah.
it was only because TSPS got me out of that shell. And I mean, my first day as chapter president, I was shaking in front of a group of my own peers locally, only about 10 or 15, 20 people, but I was shaking so bad because I couldn't get up in front of people and talk. And so it has done that for me. And now, Connor and I have led seminars with hundreds of people, 100 in a room. And so, and not only just that on that personal level, but professionally, it is great to be a part of something that advocates, for the profession, and you can help mold and shape that. And it's, being a part of TSPS and now NSPS has been nothing but a blessing to me for sure. And I know same for Connor and
yeah, my story with the professional society, I was talking about growing up. My dad was a part of TSPS. He's been chapter president for chapter 8 before, and I can remember going to the seminars and to convention. He would kind of make that like a mini vacation, and me and my mom would go along with him and stay in the hotel with him. So I kind of grew up around TSPS. When I was going to college, and I wasn't going to college for surveying, but the local chapter there actually bought me a printer to use while I was going to college. So they were kind of giving back to, my dad in that way. So I felt like I needed to give back to the society and repay some of that. And so it was actually when Shane was president and I was just getting licensed about that time. I reached out to Shane and was just like, man, just plug me in somewhere, give me something to do. And he put me on the public relations committee, which I'm actually still part of. That's been almost 10 years ago. And so just kind of went from there. And I think the biggest thing that I've got out of it is just the networking and the friendships, because I'm not shy, but I'm really reserved. And so, I really didn't have a lot of connections when I first got registered, but just going to all these events, man, I know so many people in all parts of the state of Texas. If I have a survey problem or hey, where do you do research in this county? I have somebody, that's just a phone call away to pick up and ask questions, ask help, ask for advice. It's just awesome knowing so many people across the state.
Yeah, and I like that because you both hit it on the head. It is about the networking. It's about expanding your personal network and relationships. That I think is what really the associations. I mean, yes, there is the advocacy. Yes, we're trying to do what we can to protect the public and various things, but it's also growing yourself as an individual, and by having those people around. You are getting influenced by others. So that's going to lead into my next question of, we're finally turning a corner as a profession, and I think really highlighting mentoring and being a mentor, having a mentor. So the two questions I have for you is, what do you each see as good characteristics in either having a mentor, being a mentor, and who have been your mentors in your career that you wouldn't mind giving a shout out to?
As far as who has been my biggest mentors. I mean, of course, it was my dad. When he retired from the timber company that I was talking about, he went into the private sector with a company in Lufkin and worked there for about 11 years. And I worked with him for 5 of those years. And so, man, it was an hour commute each way. And so we would spend that hour talking about surveying every single day, an hour there, an hour back. And I mean, that's what I that's what I credit being able to pass my exams on, is just picking his brain. But there's been others. My first job in surveying was with Mike Parker in Lufkin. I've kept in touch with him. Al Hargraves in Lufkin, Dean Leggett, he's since passed away. And then up in this area, the gentleman that I work for, Buster Sarton, has been a big mentor in my life for the last 7 years. I would even count Shane as a mentor. Maybe not so much in the surveying, but just in the being a professional part of it. But and we talk about this in one of our, and maybe in both of our ethics courses, about being a mentor. And I think the biggest characteristic of being a mentor is to be scared of training your competition. And I think that's where people fall through the cracks, is because we're so scared we're going to train somebody that's going to go and take work from us. And you got to look at it. Those people are going to go on and do their own thing anyway. And if you've trained them correctly, you don't have to go back and fix all their mistakes or try to figure out what they were doing when you follow behind them. You've got this person that not only have you benefited the public because you've trained somebody up right, not only have you benefited the profession because now you've grown the profession by helping somebody else get registered, you've helped yourself because you're not giving yourself nightmares in the future trying to follow behind them. And so I think I would define that as being selfless, unselfish.
Yeah.
Just being willing to give of your knowledge and not trying to hold it in.
Exactly.
And what I've done is been a little bit different, is because I've pretty much parked myself in one spot for almost 30 years. So, I've had very few mentors, but the biggest one has been Joey Stanger, which is has been my boss and mentor for almost 31 years now. And so I talk about it all the time when I mention him, is I hit the mentor lottery when I came to work for Joey in 1990. And he has done nothing but give back to me, to the profession, to other students. And so he is. And then when my dad died, he's almost been like a father figure to me since then too, and so I've been pretty blessed in that area. And like I said, I also worked for a little bit of time with Tim McCowan, who was a very good mentor. And so the biggest quality to me, Tim, about mentoring is just being available, and it's your attitude. You have to be willing to be there for them, and to make yourself available, and to answer those questions. I may not know all of the answers, but a lot of times I might know somebody that does, or I know where to look for the answers. So it's just because you may not know everything doesn't mean you can't be a good mentor too. And so it's just being available, being there for them.
Exactly. And I think that's so important now, like you said, to make yourself available, because we've gotten so far away from 2-3 man crews. That's all, it's about being productive, about taking GPS or a robot or whatever and going doing your own thing. There's not a lot of on the job training done with some of this stuff. And you hit it on the head, that it's making yourself available for those people to be able to teach, even in a remote setting as needed. But no, it sounds like you both have had wonderful experiences with people, and it's always nice to take all those in, draw those in, and then be able to delve those back out when people need it. So kudos to all of your mentors and to what you're doing in paying it forward. Okay, well, being just trying to be recognize you're a couple of busy guys as well, that we'll get this thing wrapped up. But got one last question for the both of you, that you are locked in let's call it the elevator speech. You're now stuck somewhere with someone that's not familiar with surveying, let's say a younger generation student, what have you. What is your elevator speech, Shane, to someone that may have an interest in surveying? How do you get them even thinking about coming this direction?
Well, that was one of the questions that I had the hardest time with, really, because off the cuff stuff is sometimes not my forte. But I would put it to them this way, especially in the state of Texas, and I think you're seeing this all across the country, is there are only somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,700 licensed professional surveyors in the state of Texas, versus take the thousands and thousands of engineers, realtors, any other profession. And so it doesn't take long somebody to figure out that would be a very good profession. And another thing that my boss always told me is it seems like surveying is one of those things that can't be shipped overseas. Somebody has got to be on the ground and to actually, find that corner to survey that property. So surveying is one thing that can't be shipped overseas. So you have some security in that too. So it may not be the best, but I kind of lead off with that, and then they can figure out for themselves if that's a good fit for them. And I hope also that they would see the passion that I have when I talk about it, is because I haven't had, I'm not going to lie to you, I've had a few bad days surveying, but most of them I have enjoyed thoroughly. And so a lot of parents can't, when they talk about their jobs back at home and kids listen to it, they hear about how they don't like their job, thing like that. I don't think you hear that from surveyors' kids. I think you can hear that they love their jobs, and I think that means a lot to telling somebody too.
Yeah, exactly. What about you, Connor? You've got 60 seconds. What locked in with somebody? What are you going to tell them?
Well, surveying is one of those professions that it can almost play to any type of strength that you have. And when I've given a ton of presentations to school age students for career days, and I always lead off of that. Do you like history? Do you like math? Do you like writing? Do you like drawing? Do you like, going on an adventure as far as research or scavenger hunt? Or, do you like, it's almost whatever you like. Surveying has a part of that. And, that's what I always just try to draw them into, is just, what do you like? What's your strength? And I bet you I can find some part of surveying that you can do that in.
Very good.
And Tim, that's why I have Connor as my partner, is because he can come through. I can say something and he'll come through with a home run like that. I mean, that's good stuff, isn't it?
Cleans it up. Yep. Yep, exactly. Actually, I do have the one last question, but it's only for Connor. Why do you put up with him and his crazy ideas?
I live adventurously through Shane. So.
Well, that's good. Well, gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. It's always good to hear different perspectives, and especially from your perspective, where people are only hearing you ask the questions. It's nice to be able to know where you stand and what you believe in, because I think you speak for a lot of us that and that's something you just said, Shane, that I don't think it's necessarily we ever have a bad day on the job. It's about not bad about the work we're doing. For me, it's usually bad clients that usually makes it hard. But no, thank you for, like you said, your passion, your enthusiasm, everything you do for TSPS and the profession. And we look forward to crossing paths again down the road. Really enjoy having you guys doing what you're doing. So keep plugging away at the Shane and Connor show, and let us know if we can help you with anything.
Hey, Tim, we appreciate it, and thanks for supporting us and giving us some national exposure by liking and sharing our posts. So we do appreciate that.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen, both, and we've got a couple of great shows coming up beyond this. We are continuing our "What is Surveying" question series. Actually, got some great guests coming up. We've asked that question too, so stick around, like us everywhere, and subscribe. And we'll talk to you soon. You've been listening to the Surveyor Says podcast, brought to you by the National Society of Professional Surveyors. If you have any questions about today's episode or any other topic, please email us at info@nsps.us.com, and we are here to help. Visit our website, nsps.us.com, to learn more about our association, the programs we administer and support, our sustaining members, and information about future episodes of Surveyor Says. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify, as well as our podcast host, Podbean. And remember, it's a great day to be a surveyor.